Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Whoops. Cool. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brent Barlow Daily. This is a conversation with whoever shows up about this, that, and anything, everything, if you will, because really there is no topic off the table. Today is really the official kickoff and first official show. So thank you for joining. If you watch it with me now or you watch it later, want you to know that your feedback is not only valuable, it's requested, it is solicited, it is important, it is valuable. And I will declare right out the gate that what I'm doing is intended to be an us thing, not a me thing. And it is what it is. And so we begin. What my plan is as follows. I'm going to give you a little welcome, tell you who I am, what's going on, an overview, talk a little bit about the context which you find yourself, and excuse me, let me just kick this person off. Delete. Whatever. I can't do it. All right, is what it is. All right. So I'm going to provide some context because some people who are going to watch this will not know who I am. So there's things I want you to understand, and those will continue to unfold as I go forward. Then we're going to move into a current events section, go over a couple of things that are going on right now. And then we're going to wrap it up with an ask. And that is a humble request for those who hear this, to whom it resonates, who feel motivated to take some action, even if it's just to reach out to say hello and to let me know that you're listening. Boy, do I wish my cameras worked a little bit better right now, but such is life. All right, so for the overview, here is, I think, what is probably most important for right now that you understand. I am a loud mouth, an opinionated guy, a strong cup of tea, not everyone's liking. I am a self-declared active ally. That means I don't just talk it, I walk it. I personally believe in empowerment. Empowerment of my wife, of my daughters, of my son, of my friends, of my family, of everyone. I give everyone the opportunity to prove that they're a jerk before they are so treated. I'm a coach, I'm a parent, I'm a guy who has declared himself a lifelong learner. And a few other things. I recognize that it's hard. Okay. Requires effort. It is a challenge to keep up, to maintain balance, to keep the fears abated. We all struggle with insecurities and feelings of inferiority, fears about the future. And the truth of the matter is that all we can do is honestly face them and surround ourselves with love. But it is, I acknowledge, something that does require effort. Now, I am no better than anyone else, other than to say that I, at this point in my life, have made some choices. And one of those choices is I choose to act. I've shared this before. I have a number of personal philosophies. Among them is do not say. The thought is, what you're doing is so loud, I cannot hear your words. Okay. So it is more important to take action than to plan the action or to think about it and wait and want and wish. It's what I do that matters. And in that spirit, this is my attempt to put myself out there. I've declared to my children, I no longer want to tell you how to do it. I want to show you how to do it. So this is what I'm doing. I hope to be oversaturated. I want to be everywhere and always. I want people to come to the rally cry of, we've got issues that need to be addressed. I'm not willing to play victim. I want to take action. I want to come together in community, and I want to speak in a glass half full way. I want to recognize that there are tough problems that require common solutions. And we're going to get into some of that in a little bit. I believe in the value of being honest and direct. So we're going to have discussion, we're going to build community, and ultimately we're building a platform at lavellab.com for that community to drive. My vision, again, vision with two S's, vision and mission, is to amplify human harmony through arts and education and to create a condition to foster a global grassroots effort to have a world worth handing to our children. Okay. From me, you will get a guy who's informed, open-minded, engaged, authentic. Look, I'm not trying to get likes. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just putting myself out there. Love me or don't, I don't care. But there are some important things that need to be said, and I'm willing to put myself out in front. And again, if this resonates with anyone, I will want to know. I want to hear. Obviously, there's no one on this live broadcast, and that's fine. But I'm going to keep doing it. I invite others to join. That we challenge ourselves, that we accept nothing blindly, nothing on faith, because the reality is that Ray got it right. Trust but verify, baby. I grew up with a lot of family, some friends who would talk kind of out of their hind quarter. They would profess certain opinions and offer them as facts. And people don't like to be challenged. Such a problematic issue. But you know what? I'm a challenger. I don't like trouble with the current state of things. I believe that we need to have better. I believe that we can do better. I don't buy into the doomsayers who are talking about whether or not we're going to be able to pull ourselves out of this thing. Yes, this is a very challenging moment. And yes, because it's our moment, we feel the pressure of the weight of this moment. And that weight is exacerbated by the tension, the division, the fanning of political flames, a sense and feeling of being out of control, having no say over one's own destiny, decisions, economic future, having billionaires decide for us what we're going to consume, what we're going to think. Freaking ridiculous. Anyhow, and so I ramble. All right, so that's who I am. Fairly articulate, fairly engaging, I hope, authentic, without a doubt, and doing my best to be overexposed. So today, we're going to start our current events with the word of the day. And the word of the day today is catch-22. And for those of you who don't know, the catch-22 is essentially a paradox where there is no good alternatives. It's a shitty situation, a shit sandwich that stinks when it's served, it stinks when it's eaten, and it stinks all the way down. And it's the word of the day today, I think, because of the situation we find ourselves in. We're going to cover two topics today. One is the current temperature in the wake of the Charlie Kirk memorial funeral yesterday. And my desire is to simply state facts. I do not, in this context, intend to just want to raise the debate. So Charlie Kirk's memorial, with an estimated 200,000 people in attendance, took place yesterday in Glendale, Arizona. As I assume most of you know, Charlie Kirk was a young, dynamic evangelical who promoted a message of public debate on college campuses. When he was 18, he founded an organization called Turn Point USA, or he co-founded it. And essentially, Charlie went around promoting debate, discussion of the issues of the day. You know, for all his faults, that is a noble ambition and mirrors what I'm doing in truth here. In the wake of his shooting, Texas Governor Greg Abbott wrote in a social media post that a student who was mocking the death on social media should be expelled by the school. That's a heady action. That is a executive branch, or the head of the executive branch, reaching into private education and making the declaration that because of that student's exercising of their free speech right, he didn't like it so much that he demanded that that student be expelled. And it's the same kind of language that was used this weekend during this memorial. And again, I'm not making any judgment or assigning any ethical weight to it, other than to say, you know, a quote from Trump Jr. When they took his life, 1 million more Charlies in his place. When they took his life. I don't know what his intention was, but the message sounded very much like the identification of a group of people who were involved rather than an individual who, for his own reasons, decided to go out and act and commit an act of atrocity. Trump himself said that he disagreed with Charlie in that Trump said that he hated his and he did not want the best for them. Declared Charlie a martyr for freedom. The coverage is in the conservative press similarly inflammatory. His widow, Erica, talked about forgiving the shooter, and you know, God bless her. But the reality is that that is really just feeding the flames. This is a volatile environment into which this killing has been leveraged for partisan purposes to advance an agenda that continues to marginalize others, seize power, and move the American society, if not the global community, toward the precipice of such division that, who knows, will come back. I did say that, this just happens to be our moment, another moment in American history, this American experiment of ours, starting with the Civil War, Watergate. There's any number of examples, the shooting of JFK, the Civil Rights Movement and Civil Rights Act, LBJ. So there's a lot of history, and that's doesn't even touch on political violence in a larger global historical context, which is a hallmark of human existence. It's a sad commentary, but to leverage a tragedy for political gain is a sad reality of the moment. And we'll get more into politics later, but it is the things that are being done, okay? The words that are being said, the actions that are being taken. I could go on and on. Los Angeles, just the Supreme Court, actually, just as to out on this, the Supreme Court today, Judge Kagan issued a ruling dissolving a lower court ban on or the affirmation of Los Angeles's enforcement of a ICE officials can't stop anyone without some basis for believing that they are in the country illegally. The reality is that the court system is something that we have to get into. God damn it. The most recent is the firing of federal prosecutors who are unwilling to enforce rules, Trump messaging publicly on truth, media, truth, whatever it is, that Bondi should fire this guy. There's not enough getting done to go after his political enemies. It's a shit show. Wired just put out an article today, an opinion piece, Inside Trump World's Reality Distortion Field. In the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's killing, Donald Trump's advisors were sure who was to blame. But law enforcement says that they were wrong, doesn't matter. Amazing. And there's no checks or balances. I mean, Congress has given up. And now let's move to the UN, who's starting their 80th meeting this week at the General Assembly in New York City, where presidents, prime ministers, monarchs from about 150 countries out of the close to 200 that are member nations of the UN will be meeting at the UN headquarters. And look, they are facing one of the most turbulent periods in their history. Love them or hate them, I don't have an opinion, okay? Intention and action, they just happen to be impotent because they've assumed a responsibility that they have no authority to affect. All they can issue is advisory opinions. That's the biggest problem with the UN right now. But right now, the UN faces just the top global humanitarian crises. Sudan, since in the last 2+ years, civil war has ripped that country apart. 30 million people are estimated to need humanitarian assistance. There have been massive displacements, millions internally displaced, and others have fled to neighboring countries. The weight of that migration is crushing countries all around. There's an acute food insecurity and famine in parts of Darfur. And this was the whole, not civil war, it was famine and drought that Harry Belafonte 40+ years ago shined the light on Darfur and what was going on the African continent, which gave birth to USA for Africa, We Are the World, and I've mentioned that before. Second, what's going on in Gaza? I mean, now we've got countries like England and France declaring, recognizing Palestine as its own country, and Netanyahu saying that will never happen. Talk about a Gordian knot. That is a challenge. Famine's been officially confirmed in Gaza, at least in parts of Gaza. Blockades, destruction of infrastructure, the restricted access. And the war is raging with no end in sight. I'm not even touching Russia right now and what's going on with them, but to say that while the UN has no real impact on this, Russia is, based on all available evidence, as well as the axis of evil, Iran and China, actively taking measures to influence our culture to bring its downfall. This is something that we definitely are going to get into, but right now, just suffice it to say that there is much going on around us. The more open your eyes are, the more aware you are, the more you trust but verify. And again, I know it requires effort, but the better positioned you are to make a meaningful contribution. I've left off other parts of Africa, including Yemen or South Sudan. What's going on in Yemen continues to rank among the world's worst humanitarian crisis and ongoing civil war. Years of conflict, economic collapse is just a desolate situation. You would not want your children to be in that situation. Syria, still spiraling after decades of civil war. War is I don't know, the great equalizer. It's the province of those in power to decide who will live and who will die, what principles to stand for, what pieces of ground to hold, whose lives matter and whose don't. Anyone who's fought a war, for the most part, will tell you the folly of war. Wars are more often fought over religion and geographic strife, economics. I want yours, I'm going to go take it. And today the war is technical, the war is digital, the war is all around us and everywhere. I'm going to end with this. Again, I have declared myself a do not say guy. I want to align myself with others who feel similarly. I only raise these issues because they're issues of concern to me, and they may be issues of concern to you. And this is just a summary. I've already gone over by a couple of minutes. I wanted this to be 20 minutes. It's a little bit longer than that, but thank you for whoever's there. It's probably my father and my wife. But there's a lot of good stuff that can be done. If we view the world as an opportunity, life is a gift. If we see opportunity and challenge, if we declare that we are not victims, but that we are empowered to declare, to act, to come together, to solve our common problems with common solutions, to not take things personally, to speak with some impeccability. I love that word. To always do our best. To assume no thing. So the ask is this: share, like, comment, contact. I'm going to do this every day until you are sick of me or there's enough of us join together to make a difference. because in my estimation, the time is now. It's always now. And if we don't act now, we won't have now tomorrow. God bless. Thank you for hanging out. Much love. See you soon.